Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I watched the interview with Oprah, and I want to tell you what my opinions are about it and what I saw in the interview, and I'd be interested in knowing what you think. I have to tell you, I've written down a lot of notes from the interview, so you might hear me turning pages and just trying to keep up with what my notes say. But anyway, let's start. The title, Meghan and Harry throw shade at Charles, William, Catherine, UK press, and Palace staff. The firm. Clearly, it's a PR tactic to save their tattered reputation. And to me, it's a huge fail and not believable. This is for public relations. Full disclaimer is in the description of this video, and these opinions are for entertainment only. Please do your own research to form your own opinions. I welcome your comments and your opinion. So it's about media interviews, reputation, the news releases, social media, praise, online presence, having a team to work to improve your image. It's about business, to inform, to build a positive public image. Let's start for just a moment. Oprah knows what she's doing in this interview. She clearly has a friendship with Meghan, and it's going to be shown that she's known them, and we've talked about for a few years that she's wanted to be able to sit down and interview them. She always wanted to be the one to have the interview with Princess Diana, but was never able to convince her. The questions were all one-sided, so that it shows Oprah was helping Meghan cut out to be shown in a very good light. So let's learn just a minute about Oprah.
To live, and that we don't accept that there are diverse ways of being in the world, that there are millions of ways to be a human being, and many ways, many paths to what you call God. And her path might be something else, and when she gets there, she might call it the light. But her loving and her kindness and her generosity brings her, if it brings her to the same point that it brings you, it doesn't matter whether she called it God along the way or not.
And I guess the danger that could be in that, I mean, it sounds great on the onset, but if you really look at both sides,
there couldn't possibly be just one way. What about Jesus? What about Jesus?
Them up in the subject discussion, and you say there isn't only one way. There is one way and only one way, and that is through Jesus.
There couldn't possibly be with the millions of people in the world.
Today, she has turned her millions of adoring fans over to New Age doctrine. Christians are letting this into their homes and are being deceived.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome to week number 3 of our New Earth web class. And again, I thank you. Eckhart Tolle thanks you for joining us as we bring students and seekers together to discuss our latest book club selection, Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth. We did something last week that was unprecedented. You said it's never been done before on television, where you just sit there in silence. And I thought a lot of people responded to the sense of connection from that. So you want to do that again?
Yes.
Let's do that again.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So
you are breathing. The air flows.
So who is Oprah? Oprah was the largest talk show host, the most famous in the world. She started out at a local TV news station as an anchor. For those of you, and I know more than half my viewers are outside the U.S., you've probably heard of Oprah and know that she's had Harpo Studios, that she's produced her own show, The Oprah Winfrey Show. Toward the latter part of her career or being on TV, she got more into spirituality and talking about New Age things and higher self and just a lot of different series. And what you saw was a clip from one of her shows where she's telling her studio audience that Jesus is not the only person that you have to worship, that it's not just about God, that there's all different forms of spirituality, and she's trying to open up people's mind to that. So let's continue. Oh, and before doing that, it's been said, allegedly, that Oprah is a part of the Illuminati, that the Illuminati is a group of rich and elite people who like to cast spells and use dark magic to increase and enhance their fame and fortune. There's a big group out there that I'll talk more about that are involved with a lot of different things, but here's a few stars that are rumored to show their presence in whether you want to call it Luciferism, Satanism, black magic. There's so many different words that are used to describe it. So let's just see a few of the entertainers that you'll recognize. Again, do your own research. Beyonce. It's said that some of the headdresses, some of the symbols and signaling that they use is signs, and I've looked all that up, and it means different things that they're sending messages out to people. These people are usually idolized and worshipped, but they're also taken to a level of fame that is just off the charts. Lady Gaga. Beyonce again, and she's holding a symbol. It's invoking Satan. Madonna. Notice all the horns and the headdresses of the backup dancers. Katy Perry, just one example, and she does it in many, is her video Dark Horse. And that's the eye is a symbol of the all-knowing, the all-seeing of Horus. Here you have Beyonce, and this Gary Margrove wrote a song that said wrote a book entitled They Sold Their Souls to the Devil. JC and Beyonce, her husband. Now, I'll go ahead and continue. In the interview, Meghan is clearly play acting and knows how to fool people with her manipulation. The few questions that may have exposed her, she evaded and danced around being able to fully answer the true question. You could tell that she didn't know what to say. She would look down, look away, if you look at her body language. And she was trying to carry on her narrative, but really didn't have true examples. Meghan has tried to restore her reputation because she wants to be accepted by Hollywood and the rich, famous, and elite. She talks about race and how it was obvious that she felt different. She goes into talks about there being no princess training for her. I guess she was comparing reality to her favorite movie, The Princess Diaries, starring Anne Hathaway and Julie Andrews. She thought it would be like a movie and there would be someone to teach her all these things. The Princess Diary, where they show Anne Hathaway taking a series of etiquette classes, walking, how to talk, which flatware to use and for what food, how to dress, how to do their hair. Oprah brings up in the interview Princess Diana, and Meghan says yes, she recalls an important interview and goes on to say that she had asked her mom, Doria, if she asked her mom, Doria, about interviewing, and Doria said, well, did Diana ever do a big interview? And she said, well, yes, Mom, she did with Martin Bashir. Meghan goes through this interview and constantly tells us how she doesn't look at social media, that she didn't read the papers, didn't know what was written about her, and the only way she knew was when friends would call her up and say, can you believe this paper said this, or, this was said on the news. Meghan clearly thinks that she is believable and that no matter what she says, she thinks she has the ability to fool the entire world. Meghan has just sold her soul to the devil and will now find herself in a contract with people of an elite society that use blackmail, to give you what you want, the rich and fame, but you'll always be beholden to them. And when they come calling, you will owe them, and you will be expected to oblige their request, no matter what that request is. There's much more on the public domain that can be found about satanic worship and the group of the Illuminati and the people who surround these groups, which also connects to a certain person whose initials are JE, who owned a private island, and that there are investigations and case going on currently still today. I did a video on some of Oprah's connections in the last week or so if you want to check those out. I suggest you do some of your own research in this area, as I am limited as to what I'm able to say on the subject. But I will say this, it involves some of the richest and most powerful people in the world of wealth, politics, entertainment, and you would recognize these people. They hide in plain sight. You may even in the future hear about some of these people being charged with crimes against humanity and more. Harry had to teach Meghan how to curtsy. He was about to go and meet his grandmother at the lodge where Sarah, the Duke of York's wife, was staying. She rushes out to meet them at the car, and she asked her if she was ready and did she know how to curtsy. Meghan acted all surprised, and Harry was trying to teach her in the driveway before they went in to meet the grandmother. Meghan, in this interview, said that she did not understand that you would have to do this in private, that she thought that you only did this at public events, that was the only time you curtsied to the Queen, that you didn't do it in private because this was Harry's grandmother. Why would you have to do that? She has a distorted sense of Hollywood and reality and the British royal family. Or at least that's what she wants us to believe. She said she goes in, meets the Queen, and they got along well. In this interview, she never says anything ugly about the Queen. Again, this shows that Meghan thought that this was like the movies, and nothing like this was done behind closed doors. You could kind of say this has something to do with her breeding. If someone says a person has breeding, they mean that they think the person is from a good social background and has good manners. It's often been said that Meghan had poor breeding, that she was badly brought up and that she was showing bad upbringing. She could be very impolite. She was very outspoken and just didn't know how to behave in royal circles. Instead of wanting to learn and take instruction, she was totally against that. She wanted to behave as if she knew everything. Meghan pretends she knows nothing about the royal family in the interview. She said that that it was all such a big jarring experience to her. And I believe originally she went after Harry for the money and the titles and knowing what she was getting into. But she was well rehearsed, and she was very familiar with the royal family. And it was said numerous times, even by her childhood friends, that her room was filled with pictures of the royals, William and Harry, that she had books on Princess Diana, that she had pictures of Princess Diana in her room. And I'm sure you've seen numerous pictures where she was having parties playing the Queen and instructing her friends attending the party as royal servants. In the video, she's playing a very shy person, a kind person, someone who is very compassionate and tries to show that she's sympathetic. She wants to come across like the original Diana. In the picture on the screen, you'll see Meghan knew all about the royal family and Diana. This is a picture of her friend Privy, I think her name was. But she stopped talking to Meghan after Meghan mailed Trevor his rings back, and Nyaka Privy thought that the way Meghan treated her husband, that it was, in very poor taste, and she felt bad for him. So she and Meghan had a falling out, allegedly, and haven't really spoken since. She said she saw a big change in her, and that Meghan just wasn't the same person that she was back in childhood. Then it says, let's stay on that for a minute. Meghan confesses that that she and Harry had actually, looking to see if I've gotten all my pictures lined up, married 3 days before the actual wedding with the Archbishop of Canterbury so that it could be private for them. Well, I've heard allegedly that when they leave the main part of the church during the wedding and they go in the back to sign the marriage certificate, that it was there that she finally had to sign the rest of the prenup documents that she hadn't signed prior to the wedding. If that's true, then does that make the prenup null and void? Because she signed it she actually married 3 days before. I don't put anything by Meghan. I don't know if that's the case or not. That was just something that came to mind to me as soon as she said that. She tells the story about what we heard, that she had made Kate cry, and that it was over her daughter, Charlotte, wearing stockings in the wedding, and that was part of royal protocol. Meghan shockingly says in this interview, she tells the story that Kate actually made her cry near the wedding, that she did not make Kate cry, and said Kate apologized to her and sent flowers. But she was upset that nobody would correct this in the press. She's playing the victim here. I don't believe that Kate made her cry. I believe that, Kate had just had, was it Louis she'd just given birth to or were about to? And she was upset because she wanted her to follow the rules. She didn't want to get in trouble if her daughter didn't have tights on, because she knew that was royal protocol. And if Kate did send flowers and apologize after, I think it's because she didn't want to upset Meghan at the wedding, and she was trying not to make a big deal out of it. But Meghan definitely throws her under the bus here, and then acts as if she's withholding additional information that can make Kate look bad. She does that a few times in the interview and says she doesn't want to elaborate. I think it's because she knows she's lying, and she doesn't want to say any more than she has to. Okay, next thing. Meghan said that the press went overboard with her bump carrying, that she was upset again that the palace or the firm did not go out and attack the press, because she was on the cover of magazines, and where she was over cradling her bump or going overboard with it, and that she felt that it was wrong, that didn't happen to Kate. So you can look at the Daily Mail article, Why Can't Meghan Keep Her Hands Off Her Bump? Experts tackle the question that she has got the nation talking. Is it pride, vanity, acting, or a new age bonding technique? It's funny, Meghan references this in the interview and said, how could they think it was pride or vanity? But yet she doesn't read any of the headlines, but she attacks the palace or the firm for not trying to go to the press and say, you can't print these things about her, this is just wrong. Well, Harry does say in the interview that it's a very fine line that the royal family walks with broadsheets and with tabloids, that they know that if they open up the conversation about certain things, then that means they'll be able to go after them in the future. And he's trying to explain that, but evidently Meghan didn't get it, and neither did Oprah. Then she goes on to say, Oprah asked her if she was silent or if she was silenced. But we all know there's a difference between Hollywood and royalty, the royal family. Buckingham Palace controls what goes out to the press to protect the members of the royal family. We know that she was about merching, and it was all about making money. And remember my video that I just done a few days ago about her wanting to keep designer freebies? It was all against royal protocol, and she didn't like it. She didn't want to be told what to do, what to say, how to think. She says the firm didn't protect her because she was expected them to deny the stories that were written by the press. That is not what the palace does. Again, she's doing the victim narrative. The big bad press. Oh, that's where they got married. And here's the press. She goes against Catherine and William and Charles, but she is very careful not to say anything negative about Queen Elizabeth. She was gifted pearl earrings and a necklace by the Queen on their royal train tour that she was invited on. I've seen her wear the pearl earrings, but never a set of pearls around her neck. This is her and the Queen when they're on the tour. Meghan was told here by, I think it was Angela Kelly, the Queen's dresser, that she is to always wear a hat when they're out and in the presence of the Queen. She flat out refused. Meghan wants to tell everybody of how she was mistreated, but she doesn't want to allow anybody to point out the things that she did, especially when it comes to following royal protocol. These are the earrings, the pearl and diamond earrings, and I don't have a picture of the necklace. Harry admits that he and Charles were not talking, that for a period of time when he would call his father, that his father refused to take his phone calls, and that he and William were not really talking, that there's distance between them, but that he was very hurt that his father would not talk to him. But I think this is when all of this was going out, and maybe when they were in Vancouver and they were pushing them to do a deal. Oprah asked Harry if he blindsided the Queen, and he says no. They knew that this is what we wanted. They may have mentioned it, but I don't think anybody was aware that they meant we want out, and we want out now. Give us what we're owed. Give us what we're entitled to. Give us all the perks of being royal, but don't tell us to do anything. Says Prince Harry's selfish behavior must really hurt enormously for brilliant Father Charles. And I think this was in today's paper. Harry doesn't seem to have a clue about the manipulation going on. He is clueless, but I don't feel sorry for him. He clearly wants to make his marriage work. He admits he would not have ever left the royal family to Oprah if it wasn't for Meghan. He praises Meghan, and Meghan praises him for helping each other escape. We heard of wild all-night parties that had been had at Kensington Palace. I think that's why they were asked to leave, and then when they were gifted Frogmore Cottage. We heard that, because there's families that live in there. There's other royal family members as well as Kate and William. And it was said that they had people coming in and partying all night and loud music playing. And this was almost like living in an apartment complex. And Meghan, in the interview, pretends that she had no social life whatsoever. And that for months, she was asked not to go out because she said the firm said she was oversaturated in the media. And if she could just scale it down about 50%, that she didn't need to be out in the headlines. We all know Meghan wanted to be the number one. She wanted to go in there and hit the ground running and have all of this attention. Well, she had adoring fans, people who come out and supported her. But the problem is she was one way out in public and a different way behind the scenes. And she knew the royal family wouldn't speak about it. She even goes on in the interview to bring up that there were questions about how dark Archie's skin color would be, and when he was born. I don't believe this. And when Oprah asked her who said these things, she couldn't tell her or said, well, I don't want to talk. And then when she asked Harry, when he joined them, then Harry says, well, I don't want to put anybody under the bus. I don't want to say anything. Well, who was it? Was it, they're making it seem like it was somebody very high up and very powerful. They may have heard somebody talk about it or just question about, something about the baby. But I don't believe they talked about how dark the baby's skin would be or what it would look like. And Meghan acted like she had to protect Archie because this could have been something that was written in one of the papers or something they overheard somebody say somewhere. But by withholding who said it and not explaining or going into detail, it leads us to believe it was, someone in the royal family. And when you think about it, Doria, her mother, has white people in their family. So that means Doria's not all the way black. That means that Meghan's probably about a quarter to a half African American, because Meghan's father is all white on that side. She's very light skinned. So of course, I think anybody would have the knowledge or the sense to know that the baby was going to be very light skinned. So I believe that Meghan and Harry are trying to use something that was said and make it into a big deal because, again, it plays into the race card. Meghan says that she didn't feel safe and that she didn't feel that they were being protected. We know they were safe. They always had royal security around them, and even security was sent over to protect them when they were in Vancouver, Canada. And then when they were out in California, because of his diplomatic status, he was given U.S. Secret Service agents. We know that they also had a private detail, and that the royal family, because it was reported widely that the royal family and that Charles was giving them extra money, millions, for security and whatever they needed. I think now, in the last couple of weeks, since they said they don't want to return to the family, that a lot more has been cut off. But I don't know if Charles will ever cut off his funding. I believe that a lot has still been paid by the UK taxpayers, and it's still a shame the way she's treated the people of the UK and the Commonwealth. All right. But she said that she was very mad and upset about this, and she felt that the firm, and that leads me to believe that that's the royal family. I don't know if she means the palace or the palace staff or the men in gray, but I think she's confusing that somewhat. That she wanted more done. She was always demanding, and she felt like that nobody was listening to her and nobody was stepping forward. But we know that the royal family had also scrubbed the entire internet before the announcement was made that she was Harry's girlfriend, and that a lot of things that were on there that were removed are starting to come back, including some things that put her in a very, very negative light, and is one of the lowest things that a person can do. And also her days as allegedly being a yacht girl and knowing famous Saudi princes and having dated them or spent time with them and being told that she was being given money and gifts by them. And I reported on one of these recently with some earrings that were $500,000 to $1 million gifted to Meghan for her wedding. Archie was not made a prince, she said. And she said, people said that we didn't want him to have the titles. Yes, of course we wanted to have the titles. It's not that the titles were important, but we were told that with the titles comes security, and that she was so worried about their safety, and that she knew that, and she convinced Harry that they're not safe, that something's going to happen to them, and it's going to be a repeat of what happened to his mother all over again. So this goes back to when Harry said, I didn't walk away. I had to do what was right for my family and protect them and keep them safe. Meghan's always crying. Meghan's always fearful. And, of course, she tries to turn on the waterworks during this. Meghan tries to make a point that it is because she's mixed race, and that's not the case. She said, this is what I believe that they didn't want to give us the titles for. And Oprah said, well, did you ask? And again, she evades the question and tries to gloss over it. Now, she also brings up the King George the Fifth when he wrote, and let me just go on to this. And here's a picture of King George. But in 1917, he wrote the letters patent, the title Prince or Princess of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, now Northern Ireland, to the children of the sovereign, the grandchildren of the sovereign, in the male line, and the eldest son of the Prince of Wales. So if Meghan had actually read the letters patent, she would see that Prince or Princess only goes to where Charles is going to be king because he's the eldest son of Queen Elizabeth, and William is the eldest son of Prince Charles, that he will enjoy the title of prince, his wife princess, and his children prince and princesses. So that's what the letter patent was for. I think the Queen just gave the title to Harry, and it wasn't in the letters patent. And she's also, one change that she's made was after Charlotte was born, saying that you don't skip over the girls like they did with her daughter, Princess Anne, but that Charlotte, if something happened to George, Charlotte could be, the Queen. But anyway, Meghan's trying to take a little something without going into it in detail, and knows that this right here, the letters patent, clearly states Harry shouldn't be a prince and that his children should not receive titles. So for anybody that is saying that they're, because she has a mixed race child, that's why she wasn't given the title and Archie wasn't, that's a bold-faced lie. Let me read the second paragraph. This meant that the great-grandchildren, the male line, would no longer be titled as prince or princess with the rank of highness. So they shouldn't be the Royal Highness either, which had been the case. In fact, no previous letters of patent had limited royal titles in the male line, although only the children of the sovereign, the grandchildren in the male line, and the children of the eldest son of Prince of Wales were entitled to Royal Highness. Other great-grandchildren in the male line and further down, as was the case of the descendants in the male line of King Ernst August of Hanover, Duke of Cumberland, the fifth son of King George III, had the style of highness and the title of Prince or Princess of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. So, then, the thing that really shocked me, well, let me just say this too. She also talked about Beatrice and Eugenie, that they were members of the royal family, but yet they were able to go out and earn money and have their own jobs. They were unpaid members of the royal family. And Queen Elizabeth decided to give titles to all of her children as prince and princess. So it followed on to their grandchildren, ignoring this 1917's letters of patent. But then she decided to stop because they felt like they were giving out titles to everyone. So Harry, I think, would have been, Harry and then the Duke of York's children were the last to receive these titles because the West, it says, did not receive them. So anyway, she's trying to act like, well, Beatrice and Eugenie can do this. What's wrong with us earning money? But it also should be noted that Beatrice and Eugenie are not provided any security. They're not provided any payment from the royal family. They're not considered working members of the royal family or senior members. Now, Meghan uses Harry's weakness of his mother, that something will happen to her and to Archie, and I believe that's another way she pulled him away, because she said it could happen just like your mother, Princess Diana. This way, she can get Harry to leave the UK. She cries and she acts afraid and tries to get Harry to feel sorry for her. Then, in this interview, what shocked me is she said that she felt suicidal, that she was closed in, couldn't go out, couldn't do anything, that she was silenced, and that Harry was traveling, and she didn't have anything to do and couldn't go out with friends. Listen, people, we all know they didn't hold her prisoner, and this just blows my mind. But she actually says that they tried to go to people or HR or toward the men in gray to get help, that she wanted to check herself into an institution, and she had the nerve to tell Oprah that nobody would help, that nobody would let her go. Guys, Princess Diana got therapy when she was married to Charles. In fact, I think they recommended that she get therapy, and Charles did as well. So there is no way they're going to refuse somebody who is saying they want to commit suicide the ability to go and get help. I don't believe that whatsoever. But if you'll see the LA Times, and Meghan would have read this, Princess Diana said to attempt suicide on 5 different occasions. So she's pulling this out and telling Oprah, and Oprah acts all shocked. And so she just says, this is unbelievable. I just can't believe it. And when she tried to ask them who else they asked or why they didn't just go out and get help, they gloss over it. They just want to push their narrative and stop when it's good for them. Meghan said that, she went to the HR, she went to the men in gray. And Oprah said, well, why not ask the Queen? Because you seem to have a good relationship with her. And, why not just ask her? And then she said, oh no. And Harry said, I would have been embarrassed to go to the Queen about this. Listen, if you've got such a close relationship and you weren't getting help with somewhere else, Meghan's got enough moxie to be able to go and tell the Queen, or just go out and make an appointment and get help herself, or go check herself in and say, look, you need to help me hide this from the press or whatever. But I don't believe this one bit. I'd like to know what you guys think, but I was shocked at this. So she wants to, again, use the pity narrative and use mental health. And then Oprah plugs, Harry and I are doing a mental health project, and it'll be airing soon. So she does a plug for the mental health series that she's working on with Harry. Let me ask you this. In the years since you have left, this is from me, Meghan Markle. In the years since you left, which was November of 2019, and you went to Vancouver, and you never went back to the royal family except to finish those the little finale royal tours back in March of 2020. Have you ever once seek therapy? Have you ever once said, I need to go and check myself in since I'm free of the palace? I can do what I want now. I can make my own decisions. So it's been a year and 5 months. Have you seek therapy? Because if you were as bad off as you said you were, I would think you have, but you certainly don't go on in the interview to say anything about seeking therapy. But I'd like to know about that, because we know you're not afraid. Then she says that she'll announce. Oprah asked if they know the sex of the baby, and she says, yes, I'll let Harry tell it. So she asked Harry, and then Harry says, yes, we're having a baby girl. Well, I reported this a couple weeks ago in my video called It's a Girl, and I noticed in one of the interviews that she did for Spotify, and I zoomed in on it, she was wearing a great big pink sapphire, and I thought, yep, this is a clue, because everything she does is calculated and planned, and I did a video saying I thought for that reason that she was having a baby girl. So anyway, so Oprah then congratulates her, and Meghan talks about all the things that they've lost, because, Oprah says, are you worried about speaking out now? And then she's like, well, I don't know how they could expect me not to speak out after all this time and everything that's happened. I think they'd be more shocked if I didn't. If we think about all the times that Meghan Markle did not follow royal protocol and all the negative things that were written about her, about the things that she did, and it wasn't about her cradling her baby bump, it was about the way she did it, the flicking of the coat, the way the baby in the stomach or the moon bump would go way up, way down, way up, way down, from day to day and even from morning to afternoon. So, anyway, those are the things that we all see that, I guess Oprah didn't do her research then, because if she had, she would have found all these things out there and she would have questioned her about it. But she doesn't. We know that Meghan, all she ever wanted was, because she was losing her contract with the show Suits, she told Lizzie Cundy to help her find a rich aristocratic man, that she wanted to marry an Englishman. She was looking at athletes, singers, and all kinds of people sliding into their DMs, sending message. Anybody that had money, she was desperate. She wanted everything by the way of money, fame, and titles. She set her sights on Prince Harry, and she went full force, and she used people from the Soho House and all of her friends. And it was even said in one of my other videos that there was a guy in government that said that he knows for sure that it was never out in the press, but that Meghan had even went to the shop of Harry's suit tailor to get information on him, and that he knew that she was following any lead that she could to run into him and using anybody that she could. So I don't believe she was suicidal. I don't believe she really feared that they weren't getting enough protection. But she said that we're not getting any funding, the money was cut off, and that they're not getting any protection except what they're providing. I still don't believe that. I don't believe they've been cut off yet. I think they may be cut off at the end of March 31st. But then again, that may not be the case either. So I really want to know what you guys think. But let's see what else. Then Oprah said to Harry if he blindsided the Queen, and he says no, but we know that was false. He completely blindsided her and pushed her into talks and kind of set a demand of, we need to do this now, and we need to, figure this out. And we know that they asked for way more things that they should have asked. It's like they wanted, again, all the perks of being royal, all the titles, so that they could use those to make money, which is against the rules. But, but they didn't want to have to do the work. So I'm looking to see, let me look and see. Oh, I think this is my last page. So Harry and Meghan have had such privilege, but they want us to believe that they've been treated unfairly. Funny how he said that he was trapped and that his brother and father are stuck, and that he feels sorry for Charles and William. Because I know they're stuck in this position, he says. But let me say that they have accepted their birthright. This is me. And they are mature enough to accept their responsibility. They're held accountable for their actions. And that they're doing what they were born into. Harry did not want to accept any of this. Harry wanted us to believe the royal family was jealous of Meghan. He said because of the Australian tour that she was so brilliant at it and jumped right in and did all these things. Well, I just did a video a couple of days ago about the Australian tour. She had her lead female security officer that quit on her, and and I was trying to see if I had a picture of that. I thought I did. But where they were in the market, and she was saying, "Get me out of here." And the press wrote that it was that she was in danger. She was never in danger. She was hot, tired, and bored and wanted to leave 6 minutes into a 15-minute event that was planned. So then they talk at the end, and what really got them in trouble, she's calling the royal family being jealous, but it was the Tom Bradby interview that they did at the end of the tour. The tour was supposed to be about building Australian relations. The tour was supposed to be to help bridge that relationship and keep it strong with the monarchy. But then they tell Tom Bradby, "Oh, yes, nobody, thank you for asking me how I am, because nobody ever does." He says, "Is it fair to say that you're not well?" And she said, yes. She acted like everything was falling apart. She was pregnant on this tour. They had glowing reviews because the Palace makes sure that they did. There was no mention of the girl at Admiralty House having hot tea thrown on her, and then the Palace having to pay out, allegedly, $250,000 to keep her quiet, or that she was dropping F-bombs on her host at the governor's house. She wants us to believe that they're jealous. They were never jealous, and they were always protected. And it just goes to show in the video that I just did about the royal staff and how they were bullied and treated, but that was all protected. Harry asked them not say anything. They didn't want it out and part of public knowledge. So she was protected again. There's numerous times that Meghan was protected. One of the things that got me is Meghan at the end talks about how one day she watched the film The Little Mermaid, and that You know, remember the mermaid loses her voice and she finds the prince, and then she gains her voice back. She said, I thought about me because I was like the little mermaid. I'd lost my voice because I was silenced. And I married this wonderful prince, but he helped me to get my voice back. Guys, I could not believe that. That is the most childish, immature thing that I have ever heard. And I believe this interview was a farce. The interview is a work of fiction, just like The Crown. I've enjoyed watching The Crown. It takes bits of reality, bits of truth, but it's all there and put together and written a script so that it could be lots of drama and so that we'll all enjoy watching it. It's not the truth. It is a work of fiction, and that's what I believe the interview was. I apologize. I know this was very long, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please give me a thumbs up, like, and share. And if you haven't subscribed, I hope you will. I put a lot of work and many hours into this, and I just wanted to put it out there so that it would be something that you could enjoy and kind of break down the interview. And let me know what you think. Love you guys. Have a brilliant week.